I'm going to call this video Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law says that anything could go wrong, will go wrong, and I haven't had this happen to me before, so I've been pretty lucky. A lot of the heads I work on are new or reconditioned or already been in service, stuff like that. But these cylinder heads were purchased from a acquaintance of the owner, and they were known to be off of a good running engine. Supposedly had no problems, good guides, seats, all that good stuff. I was going to show you. Now I've got a little more sanding roll work, but I cleaned up the water return. I have gasket matched these ports to the Felpro 1203s. I got a little more straightening to do on some of these outer hook walls, but everything was going good, getting everything smoothed out, using my snap gauge to make sure there was continuity, or everything was the same size. Well, see if you can see down in there some of those exhaust or intake ports. You can see where I've narrowed the guide, shaped the tail. You can see where the screw-in studs would screw in. See if you can see them. That has a big huge boss on it in the port. I take those all the way out. But as luck would have it, let's flip this head over here without throwing it in the floor. Richard came over, and I was showing him some of the work I'd done, finishing the bowl cuts, polishing the chamber. Sorry about that. Trying to get this head moved around without throwing it in the floor if I can help it. I was showing him some of the polish work I'd done on these chambers. All my bowl cuts are done, blends, all that stuff's done. I started polishing this head, cross buffing it, to give it the final finish. I don't know if you can tell in this video, this head is not quite as shiny. This head is down to 120 grit sanding roll in the chamber. This head is cross buffed. It just gives it that little bit finer finish and luster, which I will do on my exhaust ports. I don't know if you can see those. Those exhaust ports will be finished with cross buff. They'll be as shiny as this material. But, reason for this video, and I'm almost positive you're not going to be able to see it because it's so small. But if you'll look, see if I can get this angle just right. Right where the 45-degree cut is on that exhaust seat, you can almost see a black line from a Sharpie. Well, dead center in that line, there's a crack. Yep. Exhaust seat is cracked. The hope is that we'll be able to cut that old seat out, install an oversized seat, and everybody will be happy. What I'm worried about, over here and grab this pointer. What I'm worried about is whether or not that crack, which is right here in that seat, carries into this casting. I do not think it does. You know what I mean? I've scratched on it, tried to look at it. There's one little spot that has me worried, but I'm pretty sure that crack is isolated to the seat itself. because, you know, most of the time when you redo a set of heads, you have them magged, you have everything checked. It's just a standard operating procedure. Well, since these heads came off of a running engine, and we were just going to expand upon that Vortec cylinder head that Danon had already spent the money on to convert over to the regular intake bolt pattern, because you can see where they've plugged the Vortec holes and then drilled and tapped the regular 6-bolt intake pattern required for that side tie intake. That work has already been done. The heads are already set up for screw-in studs and guide plates. So, long story short, if these stupid heads ended up needing, if I needed to get a new head, and then I'll have to port it to match this head, this is going to be an additional cost, and it's going to be a huge headache. Almost to the point that I had talked to Richard about possibly shopping for some Brody heads. Because, I mean, it's going to be a huge undertaking if we have to get another Virgin 113 head and try to match it to that other cylinder head. I mean, I can do it, but that's going to be, you know, that's going to cost. And I don't know if Richard wants to pay me, plus have to find a head, which I'm sure we can find a head cheap enough. But you have to find one that's good, that's not cracked, doesn't need guides, doesn't need seats. You'd have to machine that head for screw-in studs and guide plates, plus machine it to accept the standard 6-bolt intake. This, you know, I'm going to hold my breath and hopefully hear back from the machine shop in the morning, because everybody I've talked to so far without seeing it feels like it should be able to be repaired. But that is just a kick in the teeth. I'd say a kick in the nuts, but I'm waiting to see how bad that is tomorrow. See how I did that guide work on the exhaust. Bullet, I don't even call it bullet nose, just I call it teardropping. That intake guide. Gosh, those bowl cuts came out really good. Everything was smooth, transitioning smooth from the actual bowl into the chamber. Chamber's cleaned up good. This, you know, I'm really happy with the way the intake port openings ended up matching to that 1203, because even with that existing hook wall, this thing is going to flow like crazy, especially under boost, because I've got the intake that dumps just a hair inside the head. So really that little wall that's associated with the push rod is not going to be a restriction. I'm not even worried about it. It's not going to hamper the performance. But I was going to do a little bit of finishing on these and take them in to have them machined for them bigger valve springs, and lo and behold, Richard has better eyes than me apparently, because he stopped by after work. I want him to get a good look at them. Use the snap gauge and the template, they're over there, and kind of run through the work I'd done the last 2 days and make sure everything looked good in his eyes. Then we'd finish, you know, finish smoothing and 80 grit flapper. I'm going to do a flapper 80. I'm going to finish the intake ports, hit them with the 80 grit just as a final texture finish. Finish my polish work on the exhaust ports and get these things running. And I keep repeating myself, but I was so caught off guard when he was like, "Hey, I think there's a crack in this seat." I was like, "Oh, you're full of crap. You got to be kidding me." He's like, "No, I'm serious. Look." Of course, neither one of us owned a magnifying glass, so is just a we'll go kicking the teeth until we hear more information from the machine shop. So sorry guys for a negative upgrade or update, sorry. But I thought I was well on my way to getting these things, you know, ready to assemble. Because that's some pretty nice looking bowls right there when you're looking at a set of 194 or 150 heads. Those things are going to flow like crazy. But we're going to have to put that on hold until we find out what the machine shop says and gives us either good news or bad news about fixing this thing. So anyway, I wanted to give you a little update because it's been pretty quiet around here. Keep watching. I'll give you an update hopefully tomorrow on what the machine shop decides. Thanks for watching.